What's a good income here?
If you're making $16 an hour, you lucky.
Yeah, you're lucky to make $16 to $18 an hour.
Really? So if you're making $16 to $18 an hour, you can live pretty well here?
If you have a second job.
If you got a two income household, you know what I mean? One person can't do it on their own. Not at that type of money.
You gotta be on some kind of welfare, food stamps, something to help out.
And what percentage of people here do you think are on food stamps or on some sort of government beneficiary plan?
Almost everybody. Can't nobody make it out here alone.
If I had to put it in percentage, I guarantee at least 85% of the population in West Virginia, especially in this area.
Really? Do you mind me asking, are you guys on government plans or anything like that?
We have food stamps.
Yep.
And so how much does the government give you guys a month?
Enough to barely survive, put it that way. So not very much.
And do you think the government is somewhat responsible for, instance, the state of West Virginia, where they got rid of coal mining and they put higher restrictions on that, which was one of the main...
Absolutely.
Why do you think the government does things like that?
Because it's all greed. It's all about money. You know, all the politicians, all they care is about lining their pockets with money instead of helping the people in the community that need it. That's why just right down here, you can see a homeless person standing right there with a sign.
West Virginia, I want you to know that the Public Service Commission has finally put their foot down and made a deal with AEP to give us another price hike. This is them saying we come up with a deal. Now you all pay more. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but the last price hike just started this month, the 1st of June. This price hike will start July 1st. That is 2 months in a row getting a new price hike. But they think they made a deal for us. So the way that it reads is that AEP really wanted a gigantic price hike because the several that they get every single year is not enough. And they kind of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, TikTok. I'm just telling you what the news told me. They kind of, AEP blackmailed them and said that if we can't get this small one, then we're going to do everything we need to apply for this big one. And they buckled instead of saying, nah, man, y'all's had enough increases. And do you know that the CEO makes about $36 million a year? That's what he makes in income from hiking our electric. But why? Why did the commissioner say, or the commission say, we really need to wait for a bigger hike? Oh, that's right. Because they want to see how badly everything's going to raise due to the data centers. They want to get that information out, and then they'll decide next year. Kid you not, go look it up. Kid you not. That's what they said. And a lot of people's like, this is bullshit. They're raising the electric again. And nobody's actually reading the article. Read the article. Listen, don't always go by headlines. Read the article. See what's going on. Because if you remember, we were told that the data center was not going to raise electric or nothing. It's just going to set down there the whole $4 billion worth, and it wasn't going to harm us in no way, and it's not going to do anything to the air, and the noise is no problem. It's not going to hurt the water, and it's not going to raise the electric. However, the way that is wrote up says that they need to see how much the customer base, that's us, will be responsible for when data center opens. You gotta read them articles. They sneak that shit in there. They're letting you know. But they also know a lot of people in this state don't want to open up an article. They just go by the headlines and then throw a fit. All right, well, have a wonderful day.
I saw a video a little bit ago where somebody was saying what's going to happen when the bubble bursts and none of us can afford to live anymore. And I know this is going to seem really unrelated, but I promise it's way more related than you think it is. I need you to look into the West Virginia coal towns. A couple examples of towns like this would be Thurman, West Virginia, or Cass, West Virginia. These are mostly in like Raleigh, McDowell County, places where the coal is basically the only industry. Now, if you're not from Appalachia, you maybe don't know what a coal town is. I'm going to tell you what a coal town is. Coal town is a town that is owned by a company. This company owns the coal mine that is in said town. And back in the early 20th century, the early 1900s, up through about the mid-30s, and I can get more into Blair Mountain and such if y'all would really like, because Lord knows my coworkers have heard my dissertation on it. These companies came in and they bought up land in West Virginia for cheap where these mines were. They built up towns. They built company housing, company stores, a company doctor. Everything in the town was owned and paid for by the company. The doctor that saw you when you were sick, the grocery store where you went and got your groceries, the school that was educating your children. All of this was owned by the company. And in owning all of this, the company could also set prices of everything. Now, there was another side to this, and that is Colescript. Colescript is company money. It's essentially monopoly money. And that's what these people were paid in. That's what these workers that were risking their lives in these unsafe mines were being paid in, was essentially monopoly money. This monopoly money was only good at the company store. So if you live in the town of Cass and you only have Colescript for the company that owns the town of Cass, that money cannot be spent in the town of Thurman that is owned by a different coal company. So if you don't like the doctor that's in your town, you can't go see a doctor in another town unless you got some kind of cash somewhere from another job. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if you're living in company housing, working in the company coal mine and shopping at the company grocery store, you don't have any money. And that is what is going to happen if we get to the point that the average American cannot afford their basic everyday essentials. That's what's going to happen. These corporations are going to sweep in. They're going to buy up all of our properties. They're going to buy up our houses, these cities, everything. And we're all going to be living in company housing. You can live in this company house, this company apartment, this company pod, whatever, as long as you work for the company. But what happens when you don't work for that company anymore? What happens when that company replaces your job with AI? Now, not only have you lost your job, you're homeless, and you don't have any money saved, because eventually they will try to pay you in whatever the next variation of Colescript will be. We've already seen this happen. If you're asking, how did this go away? How did we stop doing this? It was a fucking bloody fight to get out of it. To get out of this situation, the United States government had to fire upon its own citizens to get their protests to stop. Obviously, it worked, and over time, this system did go away. These company towns are no longer in existence. There is one that's preserved somewhere down there. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is preserved. You can go see it. It's run by the National Park Association. I don't know what the National Park thing is, but it's run by the National Park. My grandfather, a man that grew up in eastern Kentucky in the 20s and 30s and was a D-Day veteran at age 19, always told us that you have to know where you came from to understand what's coming. The United States education system has done a really good job of not teaching us anything past World War II or just kind of glossing over it or anything, because that's when people started fighting back. Cold Wars in West Virginia, civil rights, labor union. And John F. Kennedy was elected president, bought and paid for by Joe Kennedy, with the state of West Virginia running on safer working practices in union principles because of the shit that had happened to those people in recent memory. So like they always say, those who do not know our history are doomed to repeat it. And there is a section of our history, particularly in Appalachia, that has been suppressed from general education for a long time because these people did rise up, these people did fight back, and these people fucking won. Things are not okay. Things are not going well. It's a bad time, guys. It's a bad time. And unfortunately, I fear, along with a lot of other people, that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And that's if it gets better. I mean, this is the first time that a lot of the adults that are around right now are experiencing a shit economy. The last generation, which is mine, the older millennials, we were in college during the last Great Recession, during the housing market collapse and all of that. We didn't own anything. A few of us did, but most of us didn't own anything. Most of us were still in college. So this is a lot of our first time kind of navigating this thing, and a lot of us don't have our parents or the safety nets to fall back on like we used to as well. So anyway, do yourself a favor and look up some coal towns in West Virginia and see what a living hellhole that was. And let's make sure we don't end up back there, shall we? Anyway, I can get more into Blair Mountain one day if y'all are interested. But in the meantime, you need to be paying attention. I will see you all later. Love you. Take care of yourself and hang in there. It has to get better, right? That's what I'm telling myself anyway. I love you. Bye.
If you live in Virginia, I would really appreciate it if you would stop and you would listen to this video and then you would share your thoughts, okay? I recently read an article in the Virginia Dogwood News saying that inflation has risen in the month of June, 2.7%, the highest rate in over a year, right? The highest rate in over a year. So that would be including when Biden was our president, by the way. I know that our Republican governor and his lieutenant governor, Winsome Earl-Sears, really campaigned on this idea of lowering prices for families, keeping costs down. And they're both like in love with Trump, who also campaigned on that same promise, right? Like, we're going to keep costs down. We're going to fix our economy, blah, blah, blah. Recently, decisions that Trump has made has really impacted Virginia's workforce. Obviously, there are a lot of federal workers in Virginia, and the DOGE cuts have cost a lot of people their jobs, quite frankly. If you look here, our Virginia unemployment claims are up 33%. And I also saw an article that says that Virginia's unemployment claims are the highest out of any states right now. So that's good. So I say all this because I want to ask, like, from your perspective, because I live in my bubble, right? And I think it's good if we get out of our bubbles. How is the economy in Virginia for you right now? Like, are you able to afford your groceries? What are your childcare costs? Like, what are your care costs for like after school care? What are your medical costs? Have your bills gone up? Can you afford the medications that you need, especially with the recent Medicaid cuts? Energy costs, gas costs, like, I want to know how you're doing, how you're feeling financially. And I'm very curious to know if you feel like you're in a better place than you were at this time last year. Because I certainly don't feel that way. I feel like nothing has improved at all. It has gotten way more expensive for me over the past year. I just got married and I'm really starting to think about starting my family and like looking into childcare costs. And every time I do it, I'm like, so that's not happening. Perfect. Or even every time I leave the grocery store and I'm like, imagine if I had to feed 2 extra people. Like, if I had to multiply this by 2 more people, our insurance costs are rising, our energy costs are rising. And I'm so genuinely curious how you are feeling economically. Are you in a better spot than you were before? Are the Trump administration's actions and the people that just like blindly support the Trump administration's actions, is it going to impact the way that you're voting this fall? I'm just curious. I am seeing the Trump administration hurt Virginians over and over and over again. I would hope other people are seeing this too and are maybe thinking it's time for something different. Like, I'm thinking about like our representation in Virginia and who we're going to vote for. And is it going to be people who just are yes men and yes people to the Trump administration and who don't call them out or hold them accountable when they hurt the people that they were elected to serve? Maybe we're going to go with leadership where the interests of Virginians come first, right? Someone who's not going to back down when the Trump regime hurts Virginians, will do whatever it takes to lower costs for Virginians, even if that means breaking away from the Trump administration's wants. Because we've had Republican leadership in Virginia for 4 years, and honestly, it's not super working for us, right? It's not working for us. I'm excited that this fall we get the chance to put someone new in that position. We get the chance to elect Abigail Spanberger, to try something different and to put the interests of Virginians first. And I think that that is a great opportunity. Anyway, share everything you're thinking with me in the comments and link in my bio if you want to read more about this.
So folks are choosing between keeping the lights on or feeding their children. People in West Virginia are saying that their electricity bills are higher than their mortgages. I'm going to say that again, higher than their mortgage. So now families are sitting at their kitchen table trying to decide, are we going to buy groceries? Do we put gas in the car so we can get to work? Or do we keep the lights on? Because we can't do all three. And here's the part that gets me. These are working people doing everything right. And yet they are still falling behind. Because while politicians keep telling us that everything is fine, America gets more expensive for regular working class people every single day. And when bad decisions get made, it's always the working class that's going to pay the price for it, not the people with power and not the people with money. So I'm going to ask y'all, are you feeling this too? Are you feeling the pinch that's happening all across America? Or is it just me? Tell me in the comments. I need to know.
Martinsburg, West Virginia has one of the highest crime rates in the United States. It's considered one of the poorest towns in the United States, certainly in West Virginia. They also have a very high capita homeless rate. Now, every single homeless person I've spoken to the last couple days, every single one admits there are too many services here and it attracts homeless from all other states. And they're frustrated because a lot of the homeless I spoke to are locals and said this is actually hurting us. And so according to one homeless guy, there's 44 churches in this pretty small community that hands out stuff, multiple nonprofits, and just such an abundance of services. And apparently word on the street is with a 200-mile radius come to this town for services. And that is a problem. This is what, there's that fine line you're never supposed to cross between being helpful and compassionate and being enabling, which then eventually leads to dependency.
Did you know that the state of Virginia is facing a huge issue right now? From childcare to energy bills, everything seems to be going up. And according to Virginia Dogwood, Arlington County, where I live, is now the most expensive place in America for daycare. To really put that into context, this is double what 5 years of in-state tuition would cost. But the truth is, it's not just daycare that's getting more expensive. Dominion Energy has proposed for the largest rate hike in almost 30 years. And meanwhile, federal job cuts are also making things extremely difficult. And the Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Earl-Sears, is downplaying the situation, while others like Abigail Spanberger wants to make sure that protecting workers is a top priority in Virginia. This is really important since places like Arlington was considered recession-proof simply because of their strong federal workforce as well as stable economy. But even here, families are being hit with the high childcare costs, higher bills, and even an uncertain job market. These core issues are really dividing many Virginians, and some see these rising prices as being unavoidable, while many others believe that federal as well as state leaders need to take charge. And let me know what you think. Do you think Virginia is on the right track with jobs, energy, and even daycare? And as somebody from Virginia, check out Virginia Dogwood. It's a really good place to get the full picture.
I'm gonna lose it. I got my gas bill today. Not only has the rate gone up by $4, more than $4 a unit, there's also now a weather normalization adjustment. My name is Paige Rearing. I'm running for the House of Delegates 79, and this is exactly why we need to move to a public option and stop letting these modern day coal barons continue to throttle us for every cent out of our bodies. So I pulled up my April bill from last year and my April bill from this year because I wanted to look at them side by side. Maybe I'm hallucinating this huge increase in my bill, but no, I am not. So here's the math. From 2025 to 2026, service charge increased 6.6%. That's a one-time monthly fee. Same with the excise tax, which went from $1.34 to $3.09, meaning a 131% increase. Then there's the municipal surcharge. Originally was $2.09, now is $4.85, meaning 132% increase. And then there's the rate, which went from 10.419 last year to 14.4784 per unit per month. So now that's a 39% increase. And then the cherry on top is the brand new weatherization normalization surcharge that they do based on what they think you should have used last month. If the month is colder than expected, you'll actually get a little bonus. You know, they might give you some money back on your bills. But as you may have felt on this 84-degree day in April, temperatures are going up. And if the temperatures go up, well, they might have to charge you a little bit more based on what they think you'll use or you should have used. So now I have an extra per unit charge, 10.183 times whatever number of units they think I should have used. And this is a pattern. They do this every single year. They increase your rates. And I'm lucky. I have a small apartment, so my bill, even though it's increased, is still marginal compared to what I know families in houses are paying, compared to what I know people in larger apartments are paying, because their bills are exceeding $200, $300, $500, $1,000. We need a just transition to renewable energy today. We needed it yesterday, years ago, and we should have taken the power from these modern day coal barons who continue to squeeze us for every cent they can get out of our bodies. This needs to be in the power of the people. Anyway, if I say much more, I'm going to get in trouble. But if you believe that we deserve better than getting squeezed of every ounce of lifeblood in our bodies, in our wallets, in our lives, then I hope you will vote for me come November. Because this needs to change, and it needs to change.
Something interesting is happening in West Virginia. Some voters who supported President Trump are now speaking out, not necessarily about politics, but about one thing almost everyone can relate to: the rising cost of living. So what's behind the frustration? For many families, the biggest concern isn't campaign speeches, it is the price of groceries, rent, utilities, gas, and healthcare. When everyday expenses keep climbing, people naturally start asking tough questions about the economy and whether life is becoming more affordable. This is a reminder that for most Americans, daily life matters more than political labor. Whether someone voted Republican, Democrat, or Independent, paying the bills is a challenge that affects everyone. Some West Virginia voters have shared concern that their household budgets are under increasing pressure and says they want leaders to focus on practical solutions that improve their financial situation. Their comments reflect broader economic worries that many Americans across the country are experiencing. What do you think? Are rising costs changing the way Americans view politics, or are these just the normal frustration that come with a difficult economy? Share your thoughts in the comment and follow for more straightforward discussion about the issue affecting everyday American. Thank you.